This is a First and 10 Monday on Coaching Football with Brian Clee.
Welcome to this First and 10 Monday. It's the first of 4 that I plan on putting out over the next few weeks of defending triple option. Completely believe that you can defend triple option with whatever your base defensive system is. This particular video is going to focus on a 3-4, too high structure to defend it, what I believe in the most, but other things will work. When you're defending triple option, a couple themes that keep coming up and that you have to take into consideration. Number one, you got to stop the dive. If the offense gets the dive going, they're eventually going to gash the defense. The defense is in for a long night. That has to be taken away from my experience as a flexible and offensive line coach and also as a defensive coordinator. And then next part, what phase is the bigger threat? The keep by the quarterback or the pitches out to the slots or wings? Make sure you are completely taking away whatever the most dangerous threat is, and you're going to live with the fact that one of those phases might get some yardage here and there. And then lastly, make sure whatever you're doing with your run fit is still sound, covering whatever play action passes you've scouted on film. The first call that I like against triple option is slanting the front to motion and rolling the secondary also to that motion. I really feel you need to be aggressive. The offense has decided to take 3 of their players and put them on the other side of the midline. You need to match those numbers. So we'd be slanting the front, call left, 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 end is through the outside shoulder to tackle, nose and tackle are aiming for the guards near hip, and the bottom linebacker is doing the same to the tackle stick. Meanwhile, the secondary, okay, we would roll sky just in case the split of that number 1 receiver, that X receiver, is really, really wide. We would go sky, support, and now our jack linebacker knows he can aggressively attack whatever comes out, the first threat that comes off the edge there in the D-gap area. Okay? The free needs to roll and be able to play the vertical and key that slot. And then the corner also is going to roll back, and he's manned up on his number 1, the Y receiver there. They got 3 vertical threats. We've got 3 vertical threats matched. If they go motion to a tight end, I prefer cloud. So our corner's up. He's thinking pitch, just like the strong safety over here is thinking pitch. We always want the ball out to a one-on-one situation where it's pitch phase if we don't have anything else on the scouting report. The front aims for the guard, the end aims for the guard, the nose aims for the guard. The tackle is through the outside shoulder of the tackle. Same with the bob linebacker. You do not need to roll as hard and as aggressively to the tight end because these 2 guys running vertical is a little bit more challenging, and I don't have to get out as wide. So the movement, the free is looking for, he's going to key. I tell him, hey, you're keying and finding the outside release of those 2, while the strong safety, his rule is don't roll past the hash. He's keying primarily the slot, but also that number 1, the tight end. And then it's up to you what you do off the edge here. My jack linebacker, I prefer to have him play and cut back for the dive, possibly the A-back out on a boot, something like that. And again, manned up out here. So now you need to stop the dive first. A lot of triple option teams will run zone dive. It looks like triple. The quarterback's carrying out a fake afterwards. The pitchback's out there, but it's actually zone dive. The backside of zone dive and inside here, outside here looks the same. We got a bunch of scoop blocks. Okay? That's not going to change on either of these. So that backside tackle, guard, and the center are all going to scoop towards the play side. What ends up being different is typically what the tackle, the guard, tackle, and slot end up doing. Most teams running zone dive are going to hard double team with that guard back to the will linebacker. The tackle is going to do what we call power veer as flexible and offensive line coaches. He'll take the 4 technique if he goes in real hard on like a squeeze, or he's going to climb to the middle linebacker, and simultaneously, here's the zone part, the slot is going to be working, and they're double teaming up to that MAC linebacker. So over here, again, guard probably doubles back. Tackle and Y now would be, if it's a outside dive, they'd be double teaming the tackle up to the will linebacker. And then here's your kickoff block by your H. So the block by the wing or the slot is what really determines, is this thing zone dive or is it triple option? So our fit, if we get zone dive here, our the most critical part, can you eat up these double teams? You eat up these double teams, MAC linebacker's clean to run, will linebacker's clean to run. Okay? And immediately off of that, I get a down block. Our Bob linebacker, we'd be trying to spill that out. So our will linebacker can scrape and take the first thing that shows. If the A-back is still up and carrying out a fake, he needs to go down. Okay? So in essence, when we get to tight end, we've got the interior 7 are playing dive with the inside linebackers playing dive to Q. But that dive, in my opinion, needs to be stopped. If it's to the single receiver side here, again, eat up the double team, squeeze the tackles down block. Hopefully, you pick up the double team, MAC linebacker is clean to scrape. Again, dive to Q. Inside linebackers are dive to Q. Dive to Q. Okay? Corner can be, okay, that Y hooked up. I can be a cutback guy. And now we've got a dive player, a Q player, and a pitch player. Okay? So now, this is going to get a little messy, but that's how we make sure zone dive gets tackled. We got linebackers playing. If you're on the line of scrimmage, you got a tight end, you got a down block, you're a dive player. Okay? But our inside linebackers are dive to Q players. If you're off the ball, you're a Q player. So now, if it's actually triple option, a lot of zone teams, a lot of flex zone teams, we would typically short arc the tackle because we want it. A flex zone team wants to keep you off the Q and the pitch phase. So that tackle arc releases. So now, this all comes down to how easy of a release do you get? If I'm stepping out and the tackle's stepping out, I want to force that wider as this 4-technique end. Okay? Because as I'm doing that, the guard's working up to this middle linebacker. If the nose can occupy that center's block, if he beats it, great. He probably got a tackle for loss. But ultimately, that guard and tackle have these two. We are still in great shape for the option count. The DN can fall back inside real quickly. The will linebacker can hit a quick run through. And the MAC linebacker, he's got an open window. He can go fill that. If the quarterback pulls it, we've got our jack linebacker to force the pitch. Meanwhile, our strong safety should be able to tackle the pitch for a loss. All things equal, I think you're best off making a triple option team execute all phases. How well does that quarterback pitch and do all the stuff that he needs to do? I think that's why a lot of guys stay away from true triple option because you're putting a lot on that quarterback's plate. Well, let's see if he's truly a good option quarterback or not. Let's get a pitch. Over here, if it's outside veer, not a lot changes, but they're going to leave the Bob linebacker now. So that they're still doubling. Now that H is up on the wall trying to get that will linebacker. So it's imperative, take the dive. Bob linebacker has the dive. You're playing on a tight end, you play like a defensive lineman in my feelings and my philosophy. And now we're asking, all right, that tight end's shoulders have completely turned. The free can run the Ellie. He is playing Q to pitch. And the will linebacker, that quarterback is going to take step and he's going to run if it's outside veer. Will linebacker, I would actually have him key that or the H, knowing I need to beat the H outside because my will linebacker will fit on the H inside. So again, he's dive to Q, dive gets tackled. He is thinking 100% a quarterback player, and the force player is the guy that I always put in pitch phase, operating out of too high. Next call that I like, if you flat out need to stop the dive, is calling pinch, and then we would do what we call rhino or lion the nose. Okay, so we're pinching to the guard, we're pinching to the guard, and once we get the motion, the middle linebackers would be yelling lion, lion, lion. We're aiming for the guard. There is no way dive is going to hit inside. It's got to spill out. Okay. Similarly, we call rhino, rhino, rhino. Aim for the guard. Aim for the guard. Aim for the guard. Okay. The roll, just like we showed earlier. Let's get to the hash. The opposite. Let's get a little bit wider. Keep outside vertical. We are up on the pitch. And now the rest of the fit, okay? Scooping, scooping, scooping. Might scoop, probably doubling or climbing the linebacker. Down block. Let's go outside veer here. So we got outside veer. The H is on his wall. The rest of the fit is very, very similar. The thing is that Y is not going to have to double team when you're pinching. So that's the reason I don't start off with a pinch. You're not as strong against outside veer. The distance to cover is more for that Bob linebacker. And now, really, there's two shots at that will linebacker with both the H and the Y. That is harder for the will linebacker to get there, and also it doesn't let your free be as aggressive. So that's the biggest reason I do not love to necessarily pinch. Is if somebody's good at outside veer, they got a better shot of getting to that will linebacker. And really, they got 2 for 2 there. They can completely get you outnumbered unless you get aggressive with the free. And if you get overly aggressive with the free, all of a sudden, play action pass is coming. The release by H is typically different, and you should be good, but you need to keep the strong safety in the free. If they get vertical releases, they have to go cover. Okay? And again, it's a slightly different key, but that is why we maybe won't pinch to the tight end side. And it might get to be a little too much if you got one call for motion one way and another call for motion the other way. Okay? Now, back to the inside veer. They're working their scoops. And tackle arc releases. Okay? The thing that I do like about the pinch call is if the tackle arc releases, you are automatically putting that end on dive. You're also putting them inside, making sure zone dive that we talked about previously spills out. Mac linebacker, you're working over the top. You're playing cue to pitch. Okay. The guard, if he's doubling, great. You get a run through with the will linebacker. If he's not doubling, will linebacker and him, he can play over the top because the corner is cutback guy. Okay. That's the biggest reason I like being too high is you get to tell those linebackers, don't worry about being cut back on. We got a guy for you. It's either a corner, it's the strong safety, maybe it's an outside linebacker. And then we're up to a lot of teams, they'll arc block this out here. If the split is shorter, they're coming out to arc and push crack. Okay? So the guy rolling down, the strong safety, needs to make sure this ends up being even more drastic. If that corner sees the back numbers, the corner can work his crack replace off of that. The jack linebackers on the quarterback, and the strong safety is once again to the H. The free has to roll deep. Now the corner, he can't go cut back immediately Okay, he's got to see that Bob linebacker is working into his C gap and getting washed down by that Y, and now you can start looking for cutback. You got to key your vertical threats first. So pinch, great way if the team's arcing a tackle, if the team runs midline, and to make sure you stop zone dive. Great way to stop it. Not as strong necessarily against outside veer because you're leaving the C gap open. You're closing it immediately with the Bob linebacker. Still think you can get dive stop, no problem. But getting out to the keep and pitch phase, you got 2 shots at getting to that quarterback, but they're not going to be as fast and as clean as if you slant. So the last call that I would use is ultimately angling the front from the tight end. So you make a right, angle call. Motion now doesn't matter. So that's the benefit, is it's simple to execute your assignment. All right, right, angle, go away from the tight end. C gap to the tackle for the Bob linebacker, to the guard for the tackle, to the nose, to the guard for the nose, through the outside half of the tackle for the end. The nice part is nobody else has to move. We're ultimately, I believe, if you're running a 3-4, you do all your stunts, all your line calls, are you getting you into a different front on the snap. So we're ultimately an over front to the tight end side. Okay, C gap, B gap, A gap, C gap. Okay, nobody else has to move. Nobody else has to move. So now, defending inside veer there, all right, they work their scoops. We try and beat their scoops. That's where individual practice, group work is super important. The guard, if he doesn't double, I like our nose. If he climbs immediately, now the offense, in my opinion, is a little bit better off if the center can win in the block against the nose, and nose needs to block the strike. Will linebacker, you are working, take the easiest, quickest path, so you become part of the dive. Okay, the corner, the will linebacker can really cheat a little bit. He's an A-gap player. He could line up probably a 10 technique. Corner can play cutback. He doesn't have to worry about a vertical at all because there's no vertical left. And he knows he's a force player, so he can key whatever is more dangerous. Is it that slot? Is that the guy who gets a bit more explosives? Or do they just hammer the dive back? That's who he'd ultimately be keying. Either one potentially gets you set up to defend something coming back, whether it's counter, whether it's boot, whether it's a C motion and a mid-triple, something of that nature. D end, so if that tackle takes an inside release, haven't drawn that up yet. Okay, I'm going to squeeze down. He plays dive. The Mac linebacker, scrape exchanges, playing Q to pitch. Q has to go down. Q has to go down by that Mac linebacker. So let's draw that up. However they decide to block it, maybe just try to straight up block it. Okay, and then the Jack linebacker is on pitch. So you've got triple, you've got the dive, the Q, and the pitch all taken away. All 3 threats have somebody to match for them. If we can block, destruct inside, we get a bonus guy running to the ball. And the faster you get that ball pitched out, the faster the secondary and any guys who didn't get the dive. Again, if the dive just gets tackled by the D line, that will linebacker can, in theory, scrape dive to Q to pitch. Okay. So now outside veer, very much like pinching. I do think outside veer is a little problematic. A lot of teams will short scoop that guard and double the 4 technique to the backside linebacker. The Y has a clean shot on that will linebacker. So this is one of those things. If I put the will linebacker inside in that 10 technique, it's going to be harder to scrape out. So maybe you want to keep them with 30 technique. And that's something that game plan actually drawing up the blocking schemes that you're going to see and what a team does becomes super, super important. Okay, everyone else working their scoops. Okay, we get the motion, we're locked up man. don't have to move crazy amount in the secondary. Cutback guy, again, do I want to key the dive back because he's the biggest threat on a cutback, or the H because they do some sort of counter motion or run a counter or whatever, okay? Key part in here, the Bob linebacker 100% has to take dive. You're playing on the tight end, you get a down block like that. Maybe we get the H when he short arcs. That makes his path to get to the will linebacker a little bit more challenging. And now, one thing to consider, if that quarterback's the better player, I haven't shown this yet, but sometimes you want to mix up the perimeter. If I know the quarterback is the biggest threat besides the dive back, maybe he's absolutely their best athlete, he's got the most explosives, you know, pick your favorite C word for corner, cyclone or cowboy. The corner can blitz, take the Q, and both the will and the free on that call know that they, all right, I'm scraping all the way out to pitch, okay? Especially if this is the sideline, the boundary, I think a decent will linebacker can get there. And we get, you know, if that H hooks up on the will, that's a crack replace situation. He saw the back, the free saw the back of the tight end, that free sees the back numbers of the H. They're both hooked up, crack replace, run to the pitch. So we get 2 shots at running the pitch. And besides, the quarterback, he's got to execute that depending on which way he runs. Maybe he's a righty, he's trying to pitch left, or lefty trying to pitch right. Force them to execute and get out to that pitch phase. So there's 3 ways of handling triple option from an odd 2-eye structure. You can slant the front and roll the secondary. You could pinch the front and continue to do the same things with the secondary, or to keep it a little bit simpler for the secondary, maybe not as good at angles for you defensively, but to keep it simple, you can angle the front and play straight behind it. So some ideas for defending triple option from an odd 2-high.
If you think it would be fun to participate in a 1st and 10 Monday in some way, shape, or form, whether that is you presenting an offensive formation or 2 and how you would go about game planning against how I would try to defend that, and I'm going to exchange some ideas about how we're going to game plan to defend that offensive concept and those formations, or if you want to flip that script and you want to have me present an offensive formation or 2 and some offensive concepts and how we're going to game plan for how you would go about trying to defend us, and you're exchanging your ideas about how to put together a defensive game plan to stop that, that'd be great. There's my contact information. Hit me up on Twitter, leave a comment down below, or shoot me an email.